Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon and greetings to all our viewers. Thank you for joining us for this exciting book sharing session. We are broadcasting live through broadcasting live through Facebook Live on the UTM Library Kuala Lumpur. My name is Sesh Hariman and I will be moderating today's session of book sharing at UTM, the seventh in the series for 2024. Today joining us are two presenters who will share the selected books. They are one Zahin Ukasyah and one Zafirzan. Before we begin, let's invite our panelists to introduce themselves. Zahin, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you, sir. So my name is Zahin Ukasyah, and I'm a second-year software engineering student studying at NJIT, and I'm born in London. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for your briefing. My name is Wan Zafirzan with Wan Tarmizan. A lot of people would call me Wan. I was born and raised in Taipei, but I guess teaching Perdana. And I am a second year student of software engineering studying under MD and Ukasyah here at actually.
All right then. So we got 1 and 2. Nice. So before the first question for both our panels today, can you please share a brief overview of your book choice and why you chose that book?
So I'll go first. So the book that I have chosen to speak is this book, Dune. The reason why I chose this book is an interesting science fiction novel. And recently, the movie came out this year, which is a very successful, very. This book has been given to me by my father on my 21st birthday. To see. So this is my slide. So the content of this slide today that I born education at University of Washington, but however, he did not finish his studies because afterwards he pursued his career in journalism. And that is where he honed his writing skills as well as provided a strong foundation for his later work as a novelist. His first published book was actually Dragon in the Sea in 1956. But the book itself is very short and I've yet to read it. Maybe someday I will read it because I heard it's actually quite interesting. So now I will explain to you about the world building. There are multiple houses in this book. The main protagonist of this house is House Atreides, which is our main character's main family. So House Atreides rules on the planet of Caladan, a very beautiful and water world. And then House Corino is the house of the emperor, which controls the Imperium. House Harkonnen is the villain of the story and a strong rival against House Atreides. The Bene Gesserit is a society of which they have manipulated the birth of every noble houses for almost 10,000 years to create this superhuman called the Kwisatz Haderach, which is soon to be our main protagonist. This Kwisatz Haderach can see the past and the future, so he is essentially a superhuman. And then afterwards, the spice melange is basically like a oil in this story because it is a very important substance that every single houses requires. Not only that, but also for space travel, we have the Spacing Guild, which monopolized the space travel in this universe. So they use this spice to go from one planet to another. So I will now explain to you the summary of this book. The first chapter of the story starts on the planet Caladan, where our main protagonist has been training of his entire life on this planet until one day the emperor himself ordered that the Atreides take over the planet Arrakis, also known as Dune. But before that, the House Atreides already know that this plan is actually a trap because Arrakis has been controlled by the rival Harkonnen for 80 years, for very, very long time. And when they find out that they have to take over this planet, House Harkonnen will most likely retaliate it. So they have to prepare for this invasion as well as prepare Paul, the heir, to essentially survive the future conflicts. So they will move to the planet Arrakis on the next. Afterwards, the Atreides move from Caladan to Arrakis and they quickly secure the planet from Harkonnen attack. The main plan was to enlist the native, which are called the Fremen. Now, the Fremen themselves believe that Paul, the main character, is a prophet because they have been given this sort of prophecy that one day that a savior will come to their world and basically free them from this villain, the Harkonnens. And not only that, but they also believe that the mother of the prophet is a Bene Gesserit, and Paul's mother is a Bene Gesserit member, and her name is Jessica. So these are the main characters that will be important in the future to come. But however, they did not prepare quickly enough because soon the Harkonnens and the Emperor themselves attacked Arrakis, as well as eliminated almost everyone in the Atreides family. The Emperor sent his personal army called the Sodaka, which is a superhuman soldiers that are very, very strong and feared throughout the Imperium. However, Jessica, Paul's mother, and Paul himself managed to escape into Fremen territory. So in the end, both of them lost everything. Paul and his mother had to escape. All of the Atreides army was wiped out, and his father was also gone. So he and his mother had to go into hiding. But while in this hiding, Paul managed to take some spice substance. Now, spice is not just an oil, but it can also give some sort of a vision of the future. Because Paul could have been this Kwisatz Haderach, he managed to saw his own future in which he managed to win the battle against the Harkonnen and the Emperor. However, at a very great cost. So this makes him even more and more some sort depressed because he saw all of the possible future and none of them are happy essentially. During this time, he managed to become a Fremen and join their crusade and raiding against the Harkonnen because the Harkonnens were still invading their planet. So the Paul changed his name to Muad'Dib, which means guiding mouse. And throughout this raiding, throughout this battle, the Fremen see that he might be the prophet, and his power slowly grows stronger. Now, at the height of his power, Paul Atreides finally managed to take this some sort of a super spice, which is called the Water of Life. The Water of Life is like a poison for males because no one has survived drinking it except for female. That's why the Bene Gesserits are all female. But Paul somehow survived because of the 10,000 years breeding plan, and this has unlocked his ability to see both the past and also the future. And he saw a very, very small but sure guaranteed way to win the war. So when the emperor arrived on Arrakis to solve the issue of the Fremen raiding, Paul attacked with 3 nuclear weapons against the emperor, as well as a bunch of sandworms, which is very iconic in the Dune universe. Afterwards, the emperor and his armies were defeated, and Paul Atreides had to marry the daughter Irulan to become the new emperor. Afterwards, Paul Atreides becomes the new emperor under the new Atreides Imperium at the very great cost of his own humanity. So now we explore the themes of the book. Now there are 3 themes that are included in this book. One of it is politics, religions and myth, as well as ecology. Now the politics in this book is very, very evident because we can see that the emperor, House Corino, tried to play politics by pitting 2 houses against each other, which is the Harkonnens as well as the Atreides, in order to gain more power for himself. But at the cost of that power, he essentially lost all of it. Now, the religions and myth of this book is very, very evident and strong because Paul is seen as this religious figure, but in truth, he is not a prophet or religious figure because he is part of a breeding program to create a superhuman. And the Bene Gesserit has planted this myth in order for people to believe in this Messiah. So in the end, the Bene Gesserit wanted to control the Kwisatz Haderach and control a whole people so that they would follow their rule. But in the end, it backfired. And the last theme is ecology. Now, the planet Arrakis could have been a beautiful world, could have been an harsh green world with a lot of oceans. However, the emperor does not want that because they wanted to mine the spice. So I think it also relates to our own modern society where we industrialize a lot of our nature and destroy them. So now let's talk about the influence that Dune has on modern science fiction. As you can see, Star Wars has actually been influenced by Dune because George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, actually loved the book a lot and took a lot of inspiration from it. Game of Thrones has also been influenced because of the politics based on the book Dune, as well as a video game and a board game called Warhammer 40,000. So now I want to share with you some of my favorite quotes. Now, it's a bit long on the first one, but basically the first quote means fear is the mind killer. And I feel like this quote should be used by everyone as well as me, because I know that right now we all have to prepare for our final exam. But when we prepare for it, sometimes we become scared. And when we become scared, we try to overthink it, and sometimes we even forget about it. So whenever I feel scared and worried, I always tell myself that fear is the mind killer and that I have already prepared, so there's no need to fear. And then the second quote that I like from this book is the mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience. And I feel like this is very important too. Sometimes we think that we can solve anything in life, but the truth is we should just go with the flow and be part of that reality and experience it. So that's all from me. Thank you for listening. And I hope you have any questions. You may ask me, Seth.
Well, I think personally that I don't have to watch the movie or read the book now. That is a very, very good summary. No, I'm serious. That was a very good summary of the book. A bit long, but very good. But the book is long and the movie is 2 movies.
Yeah, the movie is 2 movies
The
because
movie
of
is
how
too-
long
of
it
how
is.
long the book is. So yeah, it was very good. And I think that there's a lot of good questions that could come up and a lot of good topics that we can cover later on. But for now, let's move on to Ukasyah's book and his slide presentation and why he chose Out of Focus as his book.
All right. So first of all, thank you, Seth, and also Zafirzan. It was a very fantastic summary that I just heard, and actually, it's my first time hearing the book Dune, and it's very inspirational. So it may come a little bit different because of the genre. We are having a Dune as a fantasy novel, and then going for my non-fiction books, which is The Art of Focus. So first of all, I will need to have the audience to know that the art of focus is a practical philosophy, which is to find meaning, reinvent yourself, and to create your ideal future. But in a very broad overview and the meaning of this book in general. So this might come a little bit different compared to the novel as fiction. So without further ado, let's next slide. So first of all, this book, about this book. So in a very brief, the world that we currently live currently, there's a modern life follows a monotonous default path set by society, leading to dissatisfaction and a lack of independent thinking, which is we right now so all been chasing to find a meaning and progress, setting and pursuing personal goals, which has become a part essential of it. So first of all, I would like to take some sentences from the book itself to explain the perspective of the Danko, the author of this book, on why does he write this book, of which I believe is very resonate to me as the reader of this book, why I chose to read this book in the first place. So, what Danko states in the book, humanity is conditioned to follow a default path in life that is set out by the society. The 99% of people that do what they are told, question nothing, and pass down what they know lead to a population that can think for themselves. So, in a modern world right now where there's a lot of distractions, we come to a world where the social media have been monopolizing the mind of the youth. And it is very important to actually realign and ask ourselves, where's our focus life and what's the meaning of our life? So there's a few highlights that come to my interest when I'm reading this book. And actually, why I picked this book, because it's the book that I most recently read. I read this book back in March, which I believe has been one of the most transformative books I ever read in the past 2 or 3 years. So without further ado, there are four highlights. The first one being the importance of focus. The second one, three pillars of good life. The third one, judgment versus discernment. And the last one is trial and error. So next slide, please. So we come to the first part of this presentation, which is the importance of focus. I believe in order for us to actually focus towards something or a goal that we are set for ourselves, it is important to actually have the terminology of what our focus is. So a human can only consciously process a limited amount of information at one time, and how we choose, interpret, and understand this information shapes our quality of life and potential. We have a lot of going on in our life, especially when we are students, just like what Zafirzan mentioned. As a students right now, we are approaching to our final of exam period, which everyone are very busy with their respective projects, with their respective assignment, and on top of that, need to study for their exam itself. So next slide, please. We come to a part where the reason when I read a non-fiction book, I will try to find a key points or a highlight which I could resonate with myself, and then I can find a potential way on how can I improve myself. So we are going to take a look towards the student struggles. Of course, we have a lot quiz and tests, our own organizational work. I believe that also is the president of the SAE. We also have one SAE. I mean myself, MPP. Right, I'm the students representative council. And we also have our own social events. We want to make time for our friends and family. We also have our own respective projects that we are working on. And we also have financial issues. This comes for everyone. All right. And then we also want to make time for our hobbies as well. I'm also currently learning on how to play a piano, and I find myself a difficult time to actually slot in when it comes to this exam period. Or how can I actually find time to play some piano? And of course, this might not happen to me. I'm not sure to other people that might have a part-time job. All right. So, which I have a friend who are working at FMB. So it's a very difficult for him, as he always tells a story to me, that he need to juggle all of these things at once. And of course, not to mention everyone have this, which is assignment. So if you don't have enough focus to begin with, or do not know how to align our focus toward all of these issues and properly to manage that, we will get easily burnout and overwhelmed. And that's only the reason why it's important to actually choose what's most important to focus on, so we don't get sad, and also we don't get to harbor hatred to our own life. Next slide, please. So we already talked about the problems and the potential issues and areas on why students also distress. More will come to a final period, final examination period. So how is to exactly focus? There's a few techniques which done co-emphasize on the book, which is the first one is time blocking. So this is actually just as similar to the how, for example, every university's the class schedule, they're blocked in further every 5 days in the week. For example, on Monday, we have a class at 8 to 10. Office is blocked, which is on this time block, it is only specified to focus on this particular subject. It happens that we doesn't really apply this to our life since we have this tendency that this is just unnecessary. But when it comes to life that we had so much things going on, it's come in importance to actually block our time for what matters. For an example, where if I'm very much committed to going to a gym 3 times a week, and I don't really specify myself on what day or what time do I want to go to the gym, it becomes difficult because it's no longer become a priority for me. I can just slot in with other things instead of like going to the gym. So that's important for the time blocking. Second one, study schedules. In a time where it is easily to stress out, we tend to look for a way to actually release our stress. And that's where social media hobbies come into game. And we're trying to find other distractions other than doing the studies itself. And we have to actually focus on time management over the study schedule because, all right, for example, tonight I want to study. We already had a class for the whole days already, and we had events at this time. Whether it's reasonable to actually push ourselves further to have a study session tonight, or we're just trying to burn ourselves, we may study tonight, but on the next day we'll feel overly tired and overwhelmed because of the schedule that we are not able to manage properly. And then we have the enhanced focus and productivity. This one is pretty generic, but in order to actually enhance our focus, we also need to find some, not a physical supplement, but some ideas on how we can increase our focus. For example, we just talk about a technique time blocking. We need to do our own research to find what works for us specifically. For example, I have this one way during my study, I apply Pomodoro technique. I believe that it is not uncommon for many people, I believe, where the Pomodoro technique is essentially you block a 25 minutes of your time to probably do deep work on it, and then you take 5 minute rest, and then the cycle continues. So it is important in order to enhance your focus and productivity that you need to do some research to find some tips and tricks that work specifically for you. And then we come to the last point on how to focus, which is the setting a specific goals. This also actually, to my perspective, is pretty generic because you have to actually set up a smart goals, which is not a goals that you can just ideally want, but there's also logically and reasonably how you're going to secure it. Because in a time where everything is there and we're not to do every single things out there, the time is the issue. You don't have time to do everything, so we need to find thing or goals that we actually wanted to work on. So I believe that I saw how to focus. Can we further on to the next slide, please? They come to the second highlight of the book, which are three pillars of a good life. At least for me, I always find it actually difficult, in my opinion, to appreciate what does essentially a good life mean to me. So here is what being emphasized by the Dan Curry, the author of the book, which is the first one being a focus, second one energy, and third one experience. A life without a goal is an unlived life. There's always a thing that I call to myself, the meaning and purpose on why I choose to live this life. So being happen, focus is always resonate or correlate to a goal on why do you walk every day, you wake up from your bed every morning, and what is there to achieve? So to set yourself a goal is also set yourself to a focus. So I believe I have my own dream, and right now I'm sitting right here studying software engineering, which I'm hoping to when I graduated from these studies to be a full-fledged software engineer, and that's being all of my focus. And I believe it is also as well be part of you guys as the one and also that. It is also a very important focus that we have to remind ourselves again and again the reason why we are studying here. And next one, we're moving to energy. In the current modern world, it is always being said or mentioned that Oh, time management. We're always talking about how we manage to our time as efficient possible, but so little that we talk about our energy management. Actually, life is more than just and you have to book a time for everything, but also you have to manage your energy level. You may have spent all of your day throughout your 9 to 5 studying your lecture room and everything. That's already set. Maybe 80% of your energy, and you are trying to expend that 20% left to all your night to maybe studying, hobbies, games. Sometimes it's just not enough. Being a student, that at least for me, approaching toward the final season, it's become common to stay up late studying when I get an exam, and sometimes not even sleep, pulling all nighter. I believe that some students from other universities haven't experienced the same, even though we know it's unhealthy. And for me, I always try to improve myself on this area where I try to properly distribute my energy to find a time and also where I feel good to study. Because if you are studying, for example, you are trying to memorize a lot of the theory, but you're not having a healthy mind. You already navigated your 80% of your energy throughout the day on other things. That 20% of energy might not be efficiently for you to study at night. It's much better if you have a rest first, properly to build up your energy, and then studying on the next morning where you have much more energy and you will understand your materials better and memorize a lot efficient than you will when you are at 20%. And then the last one is experience. Our life is a cumulative an experience. We are always, at least for me, I'm speaking from my own experience, we tend to blame ourselves for every mistake that we did. And I believe that's normal. We all seek for self improvement. And when we make a mistake, we tend to improve ourselves. And yes, that's true. And we should not be ashamed of actually doing a mistake. I'm telling this when we are students, and mistakes come in so a lot of form. It could be from our studies. We are not doing properly during our quiz. We scored maybe like 10 out of 20 and we got pissed, we got frustrated because we actually tried and we actually studied. It just happened that our effort is not enough, of course. But and then we'll study again and again, and then we'll try to do our perfect best. We got in it on final. And the reason being that potentially why we scored so good on our final exam because of that particular experience in the past. You got pissed when you got 10 out of 20, and that's become your lipstone in order for you to do better on the next one. So don't beat yourself up if you do a mistake. And there's actually a quote that's not in a book, but it's being told by one of the very famous influence of the world. It is you need to do a lot of mistakes and keep doing mistakes because there's the best way for you for self improvement and growth. And that's it. You can move to the next slide. And Indian is actually all about balance. When we're discussing regarding student struggle, back in a couple slides before, we had a lot of things that we are juggling every single day. We want to make time for our study. Yes, true. We also want to make time for our hobbies. I play video games. I play sport. You want to make time for this? I will go to the gym. I want to make time for all this. Sometimes you have your own assignment and projects, and as well you have your organizational work to do. So much things to do that you don't even have a proper time for you to relax and to give time for your hobbies. So at the end of the day, it is very important to have the balance. Where how actually do we get the balance if we have so many things that we want to accomplish in a single day? So that's the thing. What we are trying to discover is actually to expand your day to week. Actually, sometimes when we have a problem or something that we need to get done, we tend to only see it as a day of a problem. What does it mean a day of a problem? So sometimes it's not that much of urgency to finish it in a day, but instead we can spread it to the other day. So we can make time for ourselves to do other things. We tend to prioritize it to finish it as fast as possible, maybe because of deadline, even an assignment, but that is at cost of our mental health. And that is not good. It will definitely take effect on the next days afterwards. So that's all about balance. You need to find balance in your life. Next slide, please. Here comes the third highlight of the book, judgments versus discernment. I just noticed that there's no E after the JUDG. It's okay. It's just for the book. I said chill. I'm not going to talk regarding the terminology of what judgment is or what discernment is, but maybe, all right, for the overview, for the judgments, let's see, for example, we have a friend walking at the sidewalk and just stumbled upon a stone and fell down. Okay, so our judgment could say that, oh, like that guy just sat down. He doesn't see properly on the wall. That's why he sat down. Actually, he stepped on the stone. That's why he fell down. That will become our judgment. Yes, that what happened if you step on a stone. Makes sense. Just messing around with that. But of course, we're not talking about the right or wrong on that situation. Maybe if your friend, you laugh first and then you hype, okay, that's a different story. But what I'm trying to say from this book, what Dan Coe emphasized on, when you are judging, you actually close off the potential discoveries. And that's what make the difference between discernment. So what discernment is, it helps you to make a wise decision by learning from others' experience. You see someone just stumble upon a rock and it fell down. Now you know that if I go try the same sidewalk or maybe other sidewalk, I should wash my steps so I don't get stumbled. That's actually the right perspective and a positive outlook on how you should see into the situations. There's also a quote actually. I actually forget from who, so I'm so sorry on that. It says that a smart person learn from his mistake, but a wise person learn from other people's mistake. And I believe that's also correlate very much with the discernment that we're talking about. So can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so we have seen also the importance to actually be discernment rather than a judgment, right? Because judgment closes the potential and we don't want that. So the question lies now, how to be discernment? So one of the tips that's being shared in the book is a practice mindfulness and critical thinking. We tend to think a lot better when we are in our calm state, when we are not being engulfed in any sort of emotion, anger, happy, sadness. That's where we're able to think a lot better. And huh? Yeah, fear is a mind killer. And that's a good one. And also, yeah, but yes, fear is a mind killer. And then we also critical thinking. It takes a slightly bit more effort to actually recognize that it requires some sort of critical thinking when someone stumbles just over a stone to actually saying that, oh, we should not walk without watching our steps. But it actually does involve the critical thinking. So don't beat yourself up if you see yourself, oh, I never had such thought before. When I see someone stumble over a stone, I just laugh. No, it's just something like, okay, you need to have a bit of self-awareness, actually. And now you know. Critical thinking. And then the second one, seek diverse perspective. And this again comes to the same example again. Someone stumble over a stone, you are there. Their perspective has always been different. The perspective of guys stumble upon a stone, oh my god, there's a stone here. I didn't know it. Okay, I learned from my experience. The other perspective of someone watching that guy and then you laugh, saying, okay, usually guys stumble over a stone. Now I know that I shouldn't wash my step. And who knows, there's potentially another guy watching from a distance. That guy laughed to that guy for stepping over the stone. It comes from a perspective.
There's a lot of people watching each other in this. A lot of just people just looking at each other. It's like nothing to do with each other. It's like, wow, okay.
That actually happen a lot, right? It's just like a common thing. I mean, it's also important not to look only from our perspective, but to consider from other people's point of view. That's where you are able to be more distant. And then we have the last but not least, the most important one, learn from their experience. It's all right. So learning from experience, it's okay to do mistakes.
Silenced also. Yeah, go check.
I hope mine
learn from my
too.
mistakes, bro. Learn from my mistakes.
It's okay.
I will call you right now.
It's okay. From my perspective, it's
Okay. All right.
So learning from experience, this one is most important, at least because if you were to look to other people's perspective, you need to know that that's actually something not to fuss over someone just step over and fall. You need to like learn that from experience. If you have ever encountered the same situation before, you know how that is not a laughable experience, but it's just something to learn about. Okay, I should not work on this sidewalk. All of these things actually seems to be of very easy things to do actually, but these easy things to do what most people forgot or also being negligent about. That's very important also to actually take a look within ourselves. That's also the importance of mindfulness in the first place. So, can we move to the next slide, please? Oh, yes. Avoid being, oh, this one have a E. Yeah, this one, avoid being judgmental. Yeah, I learned from my mistake. This is not a coincidence. So, let's read this quote. This time I put the name of one who gave the quote. Okay, discernment is not knowing the difference between right and wrong. It is knowing the difference between right and almost right. And this quote comes from Charles Spurgeon. Thank you for the quote. So, right and almost right. That's very important. We don't seek the wrong in what people do, but what could be improved, what could be right. Then, can we have next slide? Okay, we have come to the last of the highlights, which is the trial and error. So for trial and error, I have split it into two, which is being emphasized again by the down quote from the book, which is first is the personal development, and the second one is a meaningful action and result. And this trials and error, the last session actually encompasses all the highlights that we have just going through together, which is we have learning about the importance of not too fast over mistakes, mindfulness, all of these are all resulted to our personal development and growth. You should not be ashamed of all the things that you have done, the mistake you have made, or experience you have encountered, which is might on the surface is uncomfortable to you. Because at the end of the day, mistakes, we learn from it, experience, bad experience, we grow from it. It all comes to our personal development. So in the future, you will not repeat the same thing. It is it is better to be bad for a season than thinking you are good for a lifetime. Right. And then we have the second one, meaningful actions and results. We are going to the title again, the trial and error. In order to achieve a meaningful action and the result, we have to try again in order for us to lead to the significant result. The first try might not be that significant for the result you hope to achieve. And please don't get disheartened by it. You will make a chemistry. Okay? Because we have to try again. The first time our first attempt doesn't work, try second attempt, try third attempt. And this advice from the downfall is actually very generic, can be applied anywhere, not only from the studies, but also to the life in general. And by doing the trial a lot, we discover what is the best. That's how we were able to lead to the meaningful results. Can we move to the next slide, please? All right. The journey of growth. We are going back to our iconic book word, which is focus. To the journey of growth, trust your journey, right? So trust your process, trust your journey, and also this is your journey of growth. Right? We have come to a life where it has been more than 2 decades of our living, right? So I believe there's a lot of things that close to, close to. I'm sorry, that. Uh, Jeez. But we are young life. It have been a very ups and downs. I will agree to that. Everyone have their own story to tell. Every mistake, every fault, everyone has something to share, and that's including my own and everyone out there who is watching this. So, for all mistakes that you have done, which have led to who you are now as a person, don't be ashamed of it. You should always focus on moving forward. There's always a reason why when you are driving a car, the back rear mirror is always smaller than the front one because the only path that you're going is forward. So don't fuss over for a small mistake that you do. After a couple of years, no one will remember about it anymore. But what you feel about yourself will remain. And that's the importance of it. When you're talking about growth, it's all about you and what you feel within. So don't mind about too much. Improve yourself. Do try and error, practice mindfulness, and that will does. I believe that is also the end of this. I can next slide, please, and see. And thank you so much for to be an honor to be here.
That's That's a very good summary of the book and the main key concepts of the book, especially the I don't have to read it either, so thanks. It's safe. Save me quite some time. I, if I get to share my book, you'll understand. My book's mostly pictures. Uh, okay, so now we're going to get to some questions that we have prepared for today's session, starting with one Zafirzan for Dune. The themes of Dune. Dune is known for its rich themes, complex world building, but which of those themes resonated with you the most? And what do you think of them and how they relate to the overall narrative of the story?
All right, so I feel like the theme that resonates most with me is the theme about Paul's character's journey. He was this boy. He was trained from childbirth, even though he was trained and somewhat wound-spared all of his entire life. But he knows the danger ahead. He knows that he is in danger because he is the heir, as well as a potential assassination plan by either the emperor or by the Harkonnens or by anything really. And that fear became a reality when his entire life was destroyed. He had to learn from the ground up, but he did not give up. He he fought a tooth and nail from the beginning until the end. Even though he already knows the ending, he already knows that his journey will cause a lot of death. And I feel like this is also what Frank Herbert wanted to tell. This is not a story about a hero, actually. It's more of an anti-hero because Paul is not a hero. In the end, he became an emperor, but at the cost of billions of lives. Because when you became this figure, you essentially created this fanatics, and these fanatics spread out across the galaxy and caused spoiler for the next movie as well as for the next book. But basically, billions of people died because of his journey to power.
Oh man.
Right, billions. 61.
Oh, come on, you don't have to say the number, bro. Who's gonna count also, right? You got one guy now. There's 1, 2, 59 actually.
So Frank Herbert grew during World War II era. So it essentially shaped his view of the world at that time of the modern era. We saw a lot of this God figure, somewhat of a God or Messiah figure. We saw it with Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union. We saw it in Mao Zedong in China, which caused the Great Revolution. A lot of people died, and people see him as like a Messiah, as a God figure. And then, of course, we have the person in Germany, which I would not name. So, yeah, I don't know. Kids friendly, kids friendly. So, so because of that, so basically, the theme of my favorite theme is that he never gave up, even though he knows that he would cause a lot of death. And it's kind of terrible to say that, but I think we should never give up. And especially with the fear is the mind killer, I think it really resonates with me, and I think it should resonate with everyone else. Especially your book somehow has that connection that if you keep on having this fear, your mind isn't clear, and when that mind isn't clear, you're not you. You're not yourself. You start to fumble or whatever.
Sounds like a Snickers ad, but okay. Not you when you're hungry.
I hope someone is supporting me in that. So yeah, that's basically my. I hope it answers
kill
your.
billions of people for what is a better future.
At least you don't give up. That's the point.
What is it? Tatakai. He's Aaron Yeager.
Tatakai.
Basically. He's basically Aaron Yeager. It's the first Aaron Yeager. Aside from that, the theme, another question that we have prepared is the character development. So in Dune, there are a lot of characters, right? And they are very multifaceted and evolve throughout the story. Aside from the main character, I guess it's the protagonist or the whatever he is, to be honest. Which other character's journey did you find the most compelling?
Oh, aside from the protagonist, I feel like the most compelling character is probably the. Oh, that's actually a hard question for me. I think it's the mother, Jessica. You see, Lady Jessica, she was ordered to give birth to a woman, because the Bene Gesserit, they can manipulate their body to give birth to either male or female. But she loves the father, the Duke, Paul's father, a lot, to the point that she said that, let's just throw a wench into this 10,000 years plan. I want to give birth to a guy, a male, and give my lover heir. And because of that love, she risked it all. And that character development, I think, is very, very strong in her. She just changed on that just because of her love. And she also has a strong love for her son, Paul, in which that, even though that she knows this could go wrong very, very badly, but she still played the role as the Fremen's reverend mother. She took this water of life, which I told you is very risky. It kills all men, but for women it doesn't kill, but it has the potential to kill her. So she took that poison, and she's managed to survive, and manipulate most of the Fremen to believe that Paul is the Messiah, so that she and her son can survive in the future ahead. Yeah. I feel like Attack on Titan was
Yeah, it feels
kind
like a
of
bit like, it feels like a
influenced
bit
by
like
it.
Attack on
Yeah.
Titan.
Yeah,
To
because
be
like
honest, like
Aaron,
Star Wars, yeah, I see the multiple planets thing. That part I get, the different types of people. That part I get. It was like Attack on Titan, not bro.
yeah, I feel like Attack on Titan was influenced by it, because when you think about it, if no one has watched Attack on Titan, you close this now. But
Mute job.
Mute job,
for a
yeah,
few
mute.
seconds.
But you see, Aaron can see the future. Paul can see the future, and when Paul saw the future, he was actually very, very sad. I wouldn't say who died, but some of the character that died was very close to him. He was not sad because he kind of saw it coming. He was already living with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Same thing with. Yes. Just read this. Okay. Last question for Dune. In terms of modern day relevance, of course, Dune was written a long time ago, last century. So, but what topics or what aspects of the story do you think are still relevant in today's modern society?
Okay, that is a very good question. And I think I've somehow answered that one for the team part. So I
Nice.
mentioned that the story is not really a hero story, because Paul caused millions of deaths. So the reason why Frank Herbert wrote the story is to give a warning to the reader that do not believe an influential figure and just like become a fanatic. You see, we saw it throughout history, and Frank Herbert had to live throughout history because of these dictators. Like, I'm gonna say Adolf Hitler, he was seen as a messiah figure in Germany. He was a very, very influential figure during Germany's time, because Germany was suffering, similar to the Fremen. They were suffering, and they went to this figure and caused a lot of death, even though this person is evil. And then Joseph Stalin as well, Mao Zedong as well. So yeah, basically the modern interpretation of this is that Frank Herbert said, do not just believe any leader, even though that person is influential, because it could cause death in the billions in the galaxy, and you do not want that. Or do you? Oh man. Yeah.
I've never been asked this question before. It is a very interesting question. I will say no for now.
What do you mean for now?
Because camera's rolling.
Okay.
Talk after this. Okay. Thank you, Juan, for your perspective, sharing your perspective, answering our questions about. Now we're going to move to Kasha for Out of Focus. The first question that we have here is Danco emphasizes the importance of focus in our increasingly distracting world, of course, with social media, games, friends, and other things around us. Can you share your thoughts on how focus is portrayed in the book and how it can be applied in our daily life? Aside from the ones that you've already covered, just like time blocking and having a goal, is there anything else that you found yourself or you found is useful through the book?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. So the issues with restrictions have come for a long time. Moreover, since the social media right now has been a very huge influence to every students, not even students, but to all peoples in very general. But if I were to say for the tips and tricks on how I manage to stay focused. At least for now, I'm able to do stay focused throughout my endeavor. And the tips that I found useful, aside than what I just shared from the slide, is well, all right. One of the things that I found myself slightly difficult is to wake up early. Okay, I'm not sure. I think many people also suffer from the same problems, right? So one of the things that I found very useful. Okay, this might be not very applicable for everyone because I did annoy my roommate for this. So instead of keeping my phone, which I turn my alarms on, very close to me, like on top of the table, I put it very far away near the locker, which require me an effort to actually, when it rings, I have to walk up and actually close it. And it goes like, that's actually a very practical and have been very useful for me so far. But I have to be honest, that it is indeed irritate my roommate.
Man, I feel bad for Janet, right?
Yes.
I feel bad for Janet. Janet, we're
Shout out
sorry.
for Janet.
Shout out,
Sorry.
shout out to Janet, bro. So, yeah, I've tried that method when I was in high school. I did use that method. I would put my phone, I would charge my phone on a dresser, which was on the opposite side of the room, like in the library over there. But after about 2 months of doing that every single day, my body got used to it. I was able to turn off the thing, walk back to bed, and fall asleep. And so then I moved it to the toilet, and then it worked for like another 2 months. And I just got a vibrating alarm, and I just got an alarm clock that needed like a code or something. You know those apps that's like solve a math problem. I hate this. It works. It works. You know,
As long as it works, it works. It's
works and they have to
engineering rule.
answer like exponential questions at like 4 to 5 a.m. in the morning. You're like, huh? It's a bit different. But yeah, I know.
But
It works. Too
but
bad for Janet.
true. But just for temporarily, maybe I already used to my what do you call waking up algorithm that my body already used to wake up at the specific time like every single day. When my body used to that, then I will use the normal alarm and just put just on top of my table that I can immediately reach.
It's okay.
Other tips that I could
Sorry,
think
the end
of.
of the sem. You don't need to come. Sorry, the last week.
True. But also like other few tips I think that have been useful for me every time I'm studying, that I feel like I'm easily distracted by the notification of my phone. There is one application called Forest. You can download from the App Store and the Play Store, where it's basically lock up your phone from all the other notification, and you can even access to Instagram unless you put that extra effort to actually close the Forest. That one of the way. Okay, let's see. What's another thing that's been practically useful for me? Oh yeah, this is very small change, but it has been very useful for me if I look back to it. Usually back in time, I was very obsessed with TikToks, honestly, and also Instagram. And in order for me, like I want to not doing it as frequent as I did before, I removed those Instagram and Facebook and TikTok from my home screen. And instead of like, yes, okay. Because before this, only on my first screen when I first opened my phone, it was there. It is Instagram, it was there. And now when I removed it, it is locked in some like folder behind. You have to fill them in. It take that little bit, a little bit extra effort. But that's, I believe, sufficient for me. Like, it feels like, okay, I can't be bothered with it. And it's like, I'm just doing something. And also, I meet the notification. That's one of it. So I believe that I answered your question.
Another question that we have is kind of actually you technically answered two questions in one. The second one was what else have you implemented in your daily routine, and having the Forest app and keeping your phone, somewhere where Janet can hear it. Yeah, Paul, bro. You're Paul, bro. Spare me. So
I'll try my best.
spare me. Okay. Do you think that mastering the art of focus, according to the author, impacts productivity significantly in the sense of compared to when before you read the book and to now armed with all this knowledge and information and methods, do you think it makes how much difference do you think it makes for the average person?
Okay, this is also interesting questions. And to me, I believe it did significantly. Okay, at least for me, before I read the book, I have always been like that productivity guys. I've always been trying around what methods to make my life more efficiency, even though a bit. And then I'm a very do a lot of things at one single time. Actually, I'm that kind of person, right? Sometimes when I'm doing some of my organizational work, I also tend like maybe to listen to music or maybe doing other works at the side. Um, and that have like significantly impact my focus because you have to divide your attention to this respective thing that you want to get done at one single time. And the one I first read the book where I discover what the Danko mentioned along the line of like when you are dividing your attention, you're also dividing your focus. And the significant results you get from one single work or that dividing work that you do will also be the result will also be lessened due to the focus that's being divided by then. And then I found that actually not good, especially when something that I want in a short amount of time, like for example, studies. So when I wanted to study, I try my best not to be so much distracted by the other things so that I will get the most value out of it. And I believe this same benefit could be gained by any readers who wanted to try out this book, and I highly recommend to. There's also a summary of this book that you could get for free on Google or other internets. So you can head up to the Danco website and you will get it. That's for me.
All right. Thank you both so much for sharing your books, what you've learned from them, and what the audience can also learn or can expect to learn from these books and find out. Like one very kindly spoiled for everyone, including myself. Nah, I watched the movie. Let's go watch the movie together. So, but I would like to also thank all the viewers. Thank you for your speakers today. Thank you for your participation. Thank you. It was a pleasure to discuss your books and ideas and topics. And we hope all the viewers out there found the discussion insightful, inspiring. And we hope you found the session of book sharing at UTM Kuala Lumpur. And stay tuned for the next one. Hopefully we'll have more fun books and maybe I'll be the one there and you'll be the one here. Right.
We'll be looking forward to that.
We'll be looking forward to that. Yeah, my book will be. Yeah. Both of you can be the moderator. I'll just be sitting. No, I just same position. I'll just be like, oh, okay. Thank you once again to our panelists and all our viewers out there. Thank you so much for sticking around with us and have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.